Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this regular public meeting of the Dieppe City Council, this 24th of June 2019. So to start off, we will have our opening word. Dear colleagues, let's have the serenity to accept the things that we cannot change, the courage to change the things we can change, and the wisdom to know the difference. So, one of the things that we'll be presenting tonight is the annual report of the municipality. Just to warn you that this report of the municipality, you can find it on our website, and we find the highlights of the municipality's achievements, the grants that are given to different organizations, and the different costs of municipal services and the workings of municipal council. So I hope that all members of council have received it electronically in order to make sure that we can save a couple of trees. And hopefully, I am sure that everyone has read it already. That being said, we have a quorum. Have there been any conflicts of interest declared? None. So we can continue with the adoption of the agenda. Moved by Councillor Leblanc, seconded by Councillor Cormier, that we accept the agenda as presented on the question. No questions. All those in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded, nay. The agenda is carried as it has been presented. We go now to 7, presentations, inquiries, and petitions. 7.1, inquiries by council members to the Kodiak Regional RCMP. If there are no questions from members of council, sorry, Mr. Cormier. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's not a question, it's just a comment. I wanted to congratulate the members of Kodiak because the other morning going to work, there was a car that was stopped because the traffic is very quick in that region of the marsh. So thank you for your intervention. There'll probably be more interventions. We can't catch them all at the same time. Councillor Alain. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, the only thing, it's at the Anna Malenfant School, summer has arrived. There are a lot of youth who stay around the school, who play basketball. They stay late sometimes, and they say that people say that there's a lot of noise, so maybe we should look into that, make sure that things are supervised. Yeah, I'll pass that message along. Mr. Mayor, yeah, we've had a discussion with the school district concerning that area, so we're looking at an alternative. We had done things last year that improved the situation. I hope that we'll have a permanent one soon. We're working with the school district and Anna Malenfant School, and I see that there are 2 people here who could probably give you some details. We're working with the RCMP also. Monsieur Breton, good evening. Yeah, if I may, last time I was here in May, the 27th of May, Monsieur Alain, you had asked me a question on the complaints on garbage in the area. We have received no complaints. I checked with our communication center. We've received no complaints. And I was told that if there had been some, they would have brought that to Public Works. That is to answer your question, no complaints. Also, speeding on Lakeburn, that was Monsieur Thibaudot's comment. I checked our system of files, and we've received no complaints that there was a motorcycle that was going 150 miles an hour. But even if there's been no registration, no complaints, we still send a car, and there was nothing there. Last one was Monsieur Leblanc. You'd asked me concerning accidents. If we responded to all of them, the answer is no. If the accident is $1,000 or less, so people have to share the information. But if people do not want to share the information, then we are dispatched and we have to get the information. But we'll only respond to accidents where there are injured people or if there has been an offense. But generally speaking, $1,000 or less, we don't respond to that. I hope that answers your questions. That's all I had tonight. Thank you. Thank you. So we go to the next item. Questions by members of the public. We continue then with the adoption of the minutes of the regular council meeting held on June 10th last. Moved by Councillor Thibodeau, seconded by Mr. Gaudette. On the question? No questions? All those in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded, nay. We have adopted the minutes of the meeting held on June 10th. Number 10, 10.1, administration. Adoption of the 2018 annual report. Monsieur Melançon, you have comments? Just maybe to add that, to add to the information on the new governance law, our way of doing things is in conformity with what is required by the province. You can see what the achievements of the municipality have been. It'll be on the website by tomorrow morning. So this is basically to accept or adopt the report. Thank you. For the reading of the resolution, Monsieur Leblanc. I'm going to take a big breath. That Council accept the 2018 annual report of the City of Dieppe. So moved. Moved by Councillor Leblanc, seconded by Councillor Thibodeau on the question. No questions. All those in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded, nay. The report is adopted as presented. 10.2 buildings. Mr. Melançon, you have a recommendation here for a transfer and a continuation of the work on Maison Doiron. There are 6 phases. This is phase 4, which is basically landscaping and also landscaping of the land and of the parking for an amount estimated at a request an additional $75,000. For the reading of the resolution, Monsieur Alain. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That Council authorize an additional budget of $75,000 to complete Phase 4 landscaping of the Doiron Heritage House restoration project. That Council authorize a budget transfer in the amount of $75,000 from account number 7-4-20-12-8920, General Capital Reserve Fund, to account number 3-3-30-12-7605, General Capital Budget Renovation, Doiron House. So moved. Moved by Councillor Alain, seconded by Councillor Arsenault on the question. No question. All those in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Resolution carried. 10.2.2. Still with the Doiron Heritage House. So in the same project here, we had gone to RFP in 2018 for the ventilation system. There were 2 components in the RFP, but at the time, we needed only for the first phase, which was in the house, Jade Air Mechanical was retained for the submission, but now this is beyond the capacity, so we're asking the council to proceed with the second step of the installation for the barn for an amount of $34,000. And this also necessitates a budget transfer of $148,000 for the project. So that is to proceed with the second phase of the ventilation system. For the reading of the resolution, Monsieur Cormier. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Council award the contract for the purchase and installation of a ventilation system in the barn attached to the Doiron Heritage House to the lowest bidder, being Jade Air Mechanical Limited, at the cost of $34,000 plus HST, and authorize that this expenditure be defrayed from account number 3-3-30-12-7605, General Capital Budget Renovation Doiron House, and that Council authorize a budget transfer in the amount of $148,000 from account number 7-4-20-12-8920, General Capital Reserve Fund, to account number 3-3-30-12-7605, General Capital Budget Renovation Doiron House. And I so move. Moved by Councillor Cormier, seconded by Councillor Brideau on the question. No question? So all those in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Carried. 10.3, Organizational Performance, Public Transit. So here, Monsieur Luc Richard has presented during the first policy and strategy meeting the update of the pilot project that was started for the region of Lakeburn. We even extended the project at one point to get validation of occupancy rates, use of the bus. We received the figures. We've shared them with you. And the data is similar, maybe a slight increase, but similar to what was presented to you during that meeting. So for all the reasons that were identified in the document, we think that the bus that was there, the shuttle, concerning the needs of public transport, we've received comments in favor, those who preferred the shuttle and those who preferred the pilot project bus. So there are opinions on both sides, but for the budget reasons, we recommend to go back to the shuttle for public transportation. So if you have more specific questions, Monsieur Richard is here to answer them. So we're going to go with the reading of the resolution, first of all. Madame Le Boutillier. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Council accepts to terminate the pilot project for bus route 93A and further accept the reinstatement of the Champlain shuttle service at peak hours starting July 15th, 2019. So moved. Moved by Councillor Le Boutillier, seconded by Councillor Blanc. On the question, no questions? Questions. Mr. Godet. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I'd like to confirm my deception and my regret seeing this resolution. It's been about a year and a half that we've been working on this project to find a way to give full service to that region. I presume that we want to come back to the question of what we have now, in other words, shuttle service. I really wish there would be an improvement on this service. We find satisfactory vehicles. I believe that the vans that we have are not at the level that we should have. I know that there are citizens in that area that are going to be disappointed. Other citizens are going to be happy to see the return of the shuttle service. I hope that one day, when we succeed in being able to improve the public transit, I think we will come back to this decision. The fact that we have public transport for students under 18 years old, we hope that this will be also free for seniors, and the following year it'll be free for everyone, and maybe at that point we will be able to have a system that has give a good transport to the Champlain Mall, but also to the rest of the municipality, to be able to bring people to all our municipal buildings and all buildings where there are services. So I am resigning to where I'm being. I have to accept this, but I hope that in the near future we'll be able to reconsider this whole question of public transportation. Thank you, Mr. Godet. Monsieur Thibaudot. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have of the same opinion, but I'd also like to maybe suggest an amendment. My amendment would be that I accept what's here. I would put a semicolon after 2019, and I would say that, by January 2020, the municipality have an adequate vehicle of 15-20 people to replace the current shuttle vehicle, either by contract or by purchase. So moved. So we have an amendment seconded by Councillor Godet on the question of the amendment. Mr. Cormier. The amendments say the 1st of January 2020 by January 2020. Thank you, Monsieur Leblanc. Are we trying to make improvements on both shuttle routes, 93 and 95? It could be also. I was just considering the Lakeburn area because we were talking about 93. I think we'll start with 93. Any other questions? Madame Arsenault. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm just happy that we are returning to the shuttle service, even if the vehicle could probably be improved. I think it's a good idea to do this because we really tried the 93A. We gave it a lot of time, and I think it's reasonable to come back to the shuttle service. And for the comfort, the amount of passengers that we have, well, that's another question. I agree that if that is the will of council, but I'm really happy to go back to the shuttle service. Councillor Alain. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Before voting on something, I'd like to know the costs. So, Mr. Municipal Director, on a shuttle, the motion of the amendment of 15 to 20 passenger shuttle, what would be the difference in costs between the shuttle of 6 to 10 passengers and a 15 or 20 passenger vehicle? Well, it's a kind of a van. Monsieur Richard, would there be, would you have an idea? The answer is no, we don't have any figures. We checked in the past specifically for the private sector, there are some challenges concerning the availability of these vehicles, especially during the season, during the fall, because of tourism. So there are no vehicles to be rented. Yes, it would cost almost as expensive as a purchase. So it's something that we did look into, that we are looking into with Kodiak Transpo, the funding with the federal, provincial, the agreements. But at this point, we're not there yet. So we'll have to wait another year. So we're continuing to research it, but right now I have no figures to give you. So that, for that reason, I will not be able to vote for the amendment. I can't vote on something for which I have no figures. I'm not against it, the idea to improve the shuttle service itself, but we need maybe a little more, a study a little more in depth right now. Today, as a reflex, I will not vote for it. Madame Le Boutillier. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, that's exactly the same thing that I had, costs and also the responsibility. Will we be purchasing this? Will we have to hire the people? How is it going to work? So I am also very open to improve the shuttle service, but it seems I would prefer to see the costs, the additional costs, what kind of added responsibilities will there be also. There are different models that we can look into if we purchase, a little bit like we do with Transpo. It could be Kodiak Transpo that would be taking care of the daily basis things, or it could be a partnership with the private sector as we see elsewhere. So there are 2-3 different options of going about it. We have to remember also that our objective here in Dieppe is to have smaller buses. It's something that we want, and these could be part of the opportunities. But because of the changes that that are coming about from the funding, I mean, that's what we're looking at also at this time. Monsieur Leblanc. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm just wondering if Councillor Thibodeau would be ready to reconsider his amendment, maybe that indicating that there could be a feasibility study of a bigger vehicle, and also obtaining costs, but I totally agree that the shuttle service should be improved in size and in comfort, but I also would like to know the costs that it would entail. Just to say that we're going to be setting this up for January 2020, well, I think we should look into having a study or an idea of what the costs would be. We're talking about a study, whereas we've been requesting this for a long time, to have smaller buses, and yet the study hasn't been done. So, and we're also eventually talking about offering public transport to our citizens free of charge. So I think that if we can find giving good service to our people in Lakeburn, it would be worth it. Thank you, Monsieur Cormier. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Even if there are questions, I think that it would be a beginning, it would be a step in the right direction to accept this amendment, because it would actually force us to study the question. It would force us to bring forth recommendations and looking at the global picture. Obviously, if the costs are very high, okay, council always has the possibility of saying no, but I think that the amendment would force us to go in the direction that we've discussed very often. So I will be voting for the amendment. Monsieur Gaudette. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to mention that we're not starting at zero. We've already talked about the buses, and we know that we would probably need for these shuttles are vehicles between 13 and 20 passengers, and the price average of these vehicles is approximately $100,000. With the grants that are given on the bus program, a third of this would be $30,000. So a new vehicle costs much more than this. So in fact, there's a way of looking at this. The expense is fairly minimal considering what we receive as a service. So I think we should have service buses like this in our municipality. And it can also give us the experience for the future with these vehicles, because when we're talking about the numbers of passengers in the Dieppe buses, I have rarely seen one of these buses full. I've never seen yet, and it's been 4 years that we see them driving around, and there have always been 4, 5, 6 people in those buses. So I can very easily believe that we can have vehicles of 13, 15 passengers, and that will basically meet the needs. I mean, it's not an enormous expense, but services would be good for the citizens. Thank you. Monsieur Mélenchon. I don't want to debate this. I want to give some details. Maybe there's been an agreement, infrastructure program from the Canadian government that was on the table. The agreement hasn't yet been signed with the province, so the funds are not available yet. That's one aspect. Also, the criteria for the purchase of buses, there are certain standards that have to be met to be eligible for the funds. It's not a 15 or a minibus. Is that admissible? Is that eligible? I'm not sure. If I may suggest, for 2019, maybe we could come up with an option in the budget process which would consider the financial elements of such an initiative. And I think that we must consider that we have 2 shuttle services in the municipality, so we should have an equitable approach for both services, both ends. So that's my suggestion. But it's up to you to make the decision. So I think that, first of all, we have to vote on the amendment. So I ask Monsieur Simard to reread the amendment as it was moved. The amendment would be as follows. After the date 2019, there would be a semicolon, and that by January 2020, the city obtain a minibus to replace the current shuttle bus. Is that it, Monsieur Thibodeau? Yes, it's the wording is slightly different, but the essence is there. And it had been seconded once again by Councillor Gaudette. So, on the question, all those in favor of the amendment signify by saying yes. Those who against, I'm going to ask, it's 4-4. I vote against the amendment for the reasons that have been mentioned by the 4 members of councils who have voted against it. But I do believe that following this, first of all, we should go back to our original resolution. So on the resolution, the original resolution, so maybe once again it had been read by Councillor Leblanc. Is that possible? No. Madame Leboutillier, I'm sorry. And it had been seconded by... Roger Leblanc. I knew Monsieur Leblanc was involved somewhere along the way. Thank you. So if you're ready for the question, all those in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded, nay. So it is carried as presented, but I think that by concerning what has taken place, I think staff realizes that we have to look into this situation and they have to bring forth solutions, recommendations as to how to find a solution short term, but sorry, still considering long term. Next item. PAC recommendation, that's 10.4.1. Monsieur Mélenchon. The Planning Advisory Committee relating to the acceptance of the Village Gauvin subdivision, Unit 2 tentative plan, as it's in the document. There would be an extension of Sorbonne Street as well as the location of land for public purposes, so approval to accept the recommendation of the PAC. For the reading of the resolution, Mr. Brideau. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Council accept the recommendation of the Planning Advisory Committee relating to the acceptance of the Village Gauvin subdivision Unit 2 tentative plan, which provides for the extension of Sorbonne Street as well as the location of land for public purposes. So moved, Mr. Mayor. Moved by Councillor Brideau, seconded by Councillor Cormier. On the question? No questions? All those in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded, nay. So 10.4.1 is carried as presented. Next item. 11.1, bylaw A13, Monsieur Mélenchon. So here, by reading summary and the third reading by title only, we will be collaborating as it was decided to try to reduce single-use plastic bags. We'll leave businesses to get rid of their inventory of single-use plastic bags. And it's like the other two municipalities, we are committed to be more green and more intelligent in the use of our bags. Thank you. For the reading of the bylaw by the title only, Monsieur Leblanc. Summary reading. Oh, sorry, yes, reading summary before the third reading. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Bylaw A-13, a bylaw respecting the reduction of single-use plastic bags in the city of Dieppe. Pursuant to the authority vested in it by the Local Governance Act, SNB, in 2017, Chapter 18, the Dieppe Council enacts as follows. 1. Title. 2. Definitions. 3. Checkout bag prohibition. 4. Exemptions. 5. Enforcement. 6. Offenses. 7. Severability. 8. Commencement. So moved by reading of summary. Moved by Councillor Leblanc, seconded by Councillor Arsenault. On the question? No questions? All those in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Bylaw A13 is carried by reading of summary. We now go to the third reading by title only. Monsieur Leblanc. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Bylaw A-13, a bylaw respecting the reduction of single-use plastic bags in the city of Dieppe. So moved, third reading by title only. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Leblanc, seconded by Councillor Arsenault, third and final reading. On the question? No question. All those in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Bylaw A-13. Concerning the reduction of single-use plastic bags in the city of Dieppe has been carried in third reading. Bylaw A14 relating to tourism accommodation levy in the city of Dieppe. First reading, title only. Monsieur Cormier. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Bylaw A-14, a bylaw relating to tourism accommodation levy in the city of Dieppe. So moved. First reading, title. Moved by Councillor Cormier, seconded by Councillor Arsenault. On the question, Monsieur Alain. Mr. Mayor, two important bylaws. I'm very proud of the city for being so proactive on these things. Basically, we're continuing following what our colleagues in Moncton are saying. Concerning the accommodation levy, the monies that will be levied who is going to manage these monies? Has that been determined? I'll answer the question because the intention is it's going to be the responsibility of Regional Services Commission. They should be receiving a consultant report recommending a governance for a regional committee for tourism promotion in the region. So how the monies will be distributed will be decided. I think the intention is that each municipality would keep a certain amount for its own internal needs, but the majority of the monies would go to this committee on regional tourism committee development committee. There will be a working group that we'll be waiting for the suggestions of governance, but I think the majority of these groups come from the basically hotel restaurant business. Okay, the neighboring municipalities have the same idea, going through the RSC. There's an agreement in these organizations in the southeast of New Brunswick. It's not necessarily the case in other regions of the province. Okay, that answers my question. Thank you. Madame Le Boutillier. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It was one of my questions, the plan that we had with this levy. A question that I have is because the bylaw starts on the 1st of August, a little more than a month. Have our business people been contacted, at least in the Dieppe region? Is it reasonable to say overnight that there's a system? How long is it going to take? I mean, for taxes and this, how are they going to put this into effect? Seems a little quick. So, have our business people been informed? Yes, there has been a meeting with the hotel people, with the City of Moncton, us, and Riverview. But Riverview basically don't have any hotels, so it was basically just to be nice that we invited them. But there have been no concerns that were raised at those meetings, and this is approximately a month and a half ago that the meeting took place. And the schedule of implementation was discussed at that time. So there's a collaboration between our services with Moncton to implement this in order to make sure that we keep the amount of monies, and we have to set up the advisory committee, and they will be deciding as to how to divide the monies. Monsieur Godet. He was asking me to turn my mic on, but I'm telling him he has to speak in the mic so for us to hear. Is this bylaw is in conformity with the intention of all municipalities in the southeast region? It's still going to be 3.5. Always, that's far away. At this point, it's identical with other municipalities. The three municipalities, the three larger municipalities, once again, Riverview doesn't have anything. But there's Shedjak who agrees also. That I hadn't heard. But there's also a resolution that was adopted at the executive meeting last week of the Association of Cities of New-Brunswick that we make sure to, make it at 3.5. Well, I had heard rumors concerning bed and breakfasts. I'm not sure. Bed and breakfast, I don't know if they're covered. Well, the definition we're talking about, yeah, Airbnb is the one that we're not really sure, but the B&B's bed and breakfasts are part of it, yes. So you're making me work overtime tonight. So, that was on the question for the first reading by title only. So all those in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded, nay. So first reading is carried by title only. And now I go back to Monsieur Cormier for the second reading by title only. Thank you. Bylaw A14, bylaw relating to tourism accommodation levy in the city of Dieppe. So moved. Second reading by title. Moved by Councillor Cormier, seconded by Madame Arsenault. On the question. No other question. All those in favor of the resolution accepting the bylaw A14, second reading title, signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded, nay. A14 has been accepted, second reading by title only. Thank you. Are there any notices of motion? No notices of motion, so we go to inquiries and announcements by members of council. And I think we start again on my left with Monsieur Alain. That's it. Very simple. Congratulations to our graduates at Mathieu Martin. I was at Mathieu Martin for a good many years, and it was nice to see on social media all the pictures of all our graduates. I congratulate them, and I believe that there's a fantastic future for them. That's all. Thank you. Madame Arsenault. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also want to congratulate all the graduates. It's very nice to see youth, young people going into the work market. I'd like to mention a couple of things. Apparently, there was a lot of garbage that was on the side of the road that has not always been kept up on the day that it was supposed to. So there are people who are still putting their garbage on the side of the road who shouldn't put it there because it's not the proper day for pickup. We're not putting the big garbage, and we don't put furniture on the side of the road. So please, those who are doing this, I know that we have truant officers who can check, but I still have complaints about this. And I really believe that the people, the residents, should be a little more responsible, and that they should put their rubbish the day that it's supposed to be picked up. I'm looking, Monsieur Boult. I can see that asphalting is being done. I can see that the lines are being painted, and I'm really happy to see the work being continued because I received calls on that also. So thank you for that. Also, it was mentioned earlier, but the noise at Anna Malenfant outside of school hours, which is now, it's all out of school hours because the school is closed now, but in the evening there's supposed to be a specific time. I believe that after 10 p.m. or is it midnight, there's no noise. The bylaw says at 10 p.m. So really, we should keep an eye on that a little more closely. Also, there are people who, Monsieur Le Breton, who make a lot of noise till 2 in the morning. I'm I agree with my counselor friend here, because I received calls on that too. So please, if you can look into that. And also, I saw that the LGBTQ put their appropriate colors around the Dieppe market on the pedestrian walks. I really would like to see our Acadian colors, and I know that on the 1st of July we're putting them, but I really like them to see them. I'd like to see them put up permanently, because we're in Acadian territory here in Dieppe. Thank you. Monsieur Thibodeau. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have nothing tonight. Madame Le Boutillier. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd also like to congratulate all the Mathieu Martin graduates and the college also. They had their graduation ceremonies on Saturday. Once again, it's very nice. It's energizing to see all that on social media. Good luck to all. There's a Mercredi Chaud that is coming up. The first one will be on the 3rd of July. So come in great numbers. Also, the opening of the zone, our new connection zone, that'll be next Saturday. Oh no, the 1st of July, Canada Day. That's it, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Monsieur Brideau. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have nothing tonight to report. Monsieur Cormier? Good luck to all the graduates. It's one step. There are some more. Also, come numerous at the Mercredi Chaud. Thank you. Monsieur Leblanc. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to add, I had the privilege of being present at the diploma celebration at Mathieu Martin. There were 247 graduates. So I'm happy to say that my daughter Gabrielle and Chloe Melanceau were among the 247. I believe that we have to make a special mention to thank the school staff and the organizing committee of the celebration. The temperature, the climate, the meteorologically speaking, was not at its best, but we can say that the organizing committee did great things, so I want to congratulate them. And great congratulations to the Mathieu Martin graduates and also of the community college. Well, I must say that, yes, on the picture that I saw, you were very proud when you gave her diploma. So once again, congratulations to all the graduates. Monsieur Godet, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Simply, I want to wish good Canada Day. There will be activities starting 10 o'clock in the morning till 4 p.m. on the site. There'll be music. Our new connection center, and it's the opening. I think people will be very proud to see this, because it's not everywhere that we see a municipality closing a street to make it a pedestrian street. So I'm really I'm looking forward to this, and I think the citizens of Dieppe should be proud of this. Thank you. I have nothing to add except I've already done it. Congratulate the graduates and to invite everyone to the activities of the 1st of July. It's going to be a very busy summer. We know it. There's a Congrès Mondial Acadien that's coming up very quickly. So that's it. And as a matter of fact, tonight I invite you to go to Place 1604 to participate in the activities of the Saint-Jean-Baptiste celebration. It's the celebration of Quebec, but it's also the celebration for all francophones across Canada. We have to remember that at its beginning, it's a celebration for all francophones of Canada. So that being said, may everybody celebrate properly, and we'll see you again on the 8th of July.